All right, so here was a case where Rosie is connected to this Harry Earl Baker and his wife Laura, who had 3 children. And is this your ancestor, Howard Earl?
They're all my, yeah. The Harry Earl in question is my grandfather's brother.
Okay. Okay. So we've got Harry Earl, and he had a wife, Laura, and then he had a wife, Viola. And so, you know, I'll just walk you through what I did this morning.
Okay.
With this. So I said, okay, so we've got, you know, this Harry Earl and stuff. And then I looked at Laura, and we have Laura with Harry Earl. We have Laura with John B. Clark. And, okay. And so then I looked at the sources, and I saw that the problem that Rosie was talking about. Now, what I did was I organized my sources so that I could see what I had. Mm-hmm. I've got Laura with Harry Baker, 1910, and looking at Harry, I did the same thing. So we've got Harry in the 1900. He's living with his family. He's just a kid. And then I've got Harry in 1910. He's living with Laura with his 2 older children, Howard and Clara. Howard is a newborn and Clara is 2 years old. And then I've got 1920, where Howard is now got a different wife.
Harry.
Harry's got a different wife. Howard is listed as Harry's stepson.
Yeah.
Well, it's not Harry's stepson, it's Viola's stepson. It's Harry's son. And Josie is listed as Harry's granddaughter. You know, 31-year-old Harry apparently was having children when he was 4 years old. So the enumerator totally got that messed up. But
my guess is they would have talked to her when if they're doing a census and they talked to her, the wife, because the husband wasn't home.
Right, right. They didn't have a clear conversation.
No, obviously.
Yeah. But we recognize that it's our guy because we've got Howard, who is 10. He was a newborn in 10 years ago. And then we have Josie, that you know from other family research is related to.
Yeah, I've heard of these people. I didn't know them personally, but I had heard the names. Yeah.
Okay. And so then I wanted to look at the kids and see, you know, what we had. And so we have that Josie in 1920. We have her find a grave index, and that's probably where you have the information from her being connected to your family, because it's, you know.
Yeah, because everybody's buried in that cemetery.
Yeah. And so I looked at the other kids, Howard and at Clara. Okay, so I have a picture now of the family. And
say what do you do? What do you do when somebody just drops off the map completely? Like you follow them to a certain point, and then you can no longer locate them.
Yeah, and that, you know, that is like the norm. That is, you know, sometimes you're just hard put.
But how does that happen?
What I would do is I would research all the other family members and hope that perhaps at some point in time he turns up in some family member's household.
And that's what kind of started this situation that I'm delving into further, because I cannot find my grandfather in 1940.
Okay, and that's Harry? Or
no, that's Horatio, Louis Horatio.
Okay.
I can't find him, and that's why I went exploring further with all these scenarios.
Right.
Then
And
I
that-
discovered some more problems. So.
Right. And so to get to the crux of the problem that she discovered, she's researching Laura, who is Harry Earle's first wife, and she finds things are getting a little complicated because we've got, Laura in the 1910 census, and we've got Laura with a new spouse in 1920. But in the 1910 census, the family is living, Laura is living in Kenton, Kentucky. Let's take a look at a map and see where Kenton County, Kentucky is.
Across the river from Cincinnati.
Okay. So so here we have Kenton right by Cincinnati. And then when she looked at this 1920 household, that's in Boyd County, Kentucky. And so we go back to our map and we say, let's get directions from Kenton County to Boyd County, Kentucky. And we've got, like 100, it's 100 miles away, which seems not unthinkable, but it's peculiar. It's unusual.
Yeah.
It's unusual. We don't see that.
Particularly when, if she did decide to go down there, she left her children. I mean, she left the children.
Right.
Which isn't unusual.
Right. And that reminds me, so we had in the 1920 census, we had Josie, who was born in 1912, and Howard, who was born in 1910. And where's Clara? So
Yeah, where'd Clara go? I don't know.
I looked for Clara, and Clara was living with her grandfather, Ray, who is the Horatio, and Carrie, who is
the
grandmother. Okay, so mom doesn't have any of the kids. Everybody's living in Kenton. Mom went 100 miles away. So we think that may be possible. But then we have also, in 1930, we have her in two households. She's listed as a Laura Clark in John Clark's household. And then we have this Laura Messersmith again. And so let's look at this John Clark. And notice all of these are attached by Stephanie Linkenhoker. So we look at this 1930 for John Clark, and by George, that's in Covington, Kenton, Kentucky, which is right where we would expect to have a Laura. All right. So maybe there's two people, maybe Stephanie, made a mistake and this John Clark is not ours.
Yeah.
So let's look at what we've got for her records. And we have this 1915 county marriage of a Laura B. Gray marrying Elmer Messersmith in Boyd, Kentucky. And when we look at that record, all right, so here we have the date of the marriage, Elmer Messersmith, Laura B. Gray. Now, for one thing I would point out, in 1915, Laura is not Laura Gray. She is Laura Baker.
Okay.
So that is one thing that makes me suspect this is not our Laura's record.
Even though, would she still not use her maiden name?
No, her legal name is Laura Baker.
Baker, it should be. Okay, so
Right.
they want to revert back to
No,
born name, birth name.
she would have to go through a court process to revert back.
Okay.
And since she has children, it's not likely that she would go to that much trouble to change her name from her children's name.
Mhm.
Now, the other thing we've got is in 1915, she's 23 years old. And that,
Doesn't equate for the children. Well, let's
right, I mean, if in 1915 she's 23, and Clara was born in 1908, then,
should have been 15.
right, so let me see. She's
Well, no,
20
that's not right. No.
23 in 15, you know.
She was born in 1892.
Okay,
If she was 23 and 15.
right. Okay, and so we could assume there's a, that maybe she is, so she would have been 8 years, she would have been 17 when Clara was born, so that's possible. I couldn't quite make this out. It's, they haven't checked whether she's single, widowed, or divorced, but they have June 14, 1911,
11.
and they have, or maybe that's a 5, I'm not sure, and they have May X next to him. So we keep going down and we keep looking at this, and it has the names of the parents. And the names of the wife's parents are William Gray and Laura Adams. Well, if we go back and look at our Laura here, that's Walter Scott Gray and Martha Brittingham. So we definitely do not have one Laura. So first thing that I would do is we need to separate these into 2 Lauras.
Mhm.
One is a Laura whose parents are William Gray and Laura Adams. That looks like Laura Adams.
Mhm.
And the other, I don't know. The other is this Laura who married Clark. So this is where we're going to do some surgery on this tree. And surgery is always delicate because we don't want to create most of a mess. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to follow her so that I can find her again. Okay, now we've got, the other thing we have to ask is okay, we're going to end up with 3 profiles. We're going to end up with Laura Gray, who's married to Harry Earl Baker. I'm just thinking out loud here. Actually, we may end up with 4 profiles. Laura Gray, who's married to Harry Earl Baker. A Laura Gray, who was the daughter of Horatio Baker. No, Laura Gray, who was the daughter of come on. Okay, Laura Gray, who is the daughter of Walter Scott Gray and Martha Jane Brittingham. And then we're going to have the Laura, who is married to Elmer Messersmith, and the Laura who is married to John Clark.
Okay.
okay?
Hmm.
And then we will be able to figure out, oh, here's another marriage record that I didn't see. So let's just see if that marriage record has, this is our marriage to Harry Baker. Let's see if that has her parents' names as the other one did, because that would reduce the number of Lauras we have to make. And we have, all right, so August 1907, Harry Baker, Laura Gray, Covington, Kenton. Okay. Martha Gray, mother of bride, present and gave consent. All right, so we know that the bride's mother is named Martha.
Mhm.
We don't, unfortunately, have
Dad's name.
the names of the, the maiden name, gave consent, Nimrod Ashcraft.
And on one of the censuses, I remember that's a Nimrod Ashcraft living next door or something. I don't know if it's like her sister or something. And
I'm trying to think, something like.
there's a Nina that's her sister, I think.
Right. Well, Nimrod, that would be a male's name.
Okay, well, yeah, if that's
Right. And application by county court as, what do you think, as something that do, that might be a legal term, of groom and gave consent. So by both
guardian.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something like that. So the bride was 17, the groom was 18. Of course, if I were you, because I would want to understand all of this, I would go and find out what Kentucky's marriage law was at the time, because I would be curious to know why there's a consent for the groom, and what this relationship of Nimrod Ashcraft is to the groom, and why somebody, with a different name than Baker is giving their consent. So that's all stuff you can do on your own.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Because I can't see the whole picture, but it says something in the presence of Nimrod. What is his?
In the presence of Nimrod Ashcraft and Martha
Hampton.
So they were witnesses. Okay.
Right.
And Martha Hampton, I guess Martha would be her mom? Hampton?
Well, it's Martha Gray.
Oh, it's Gray over there, but
Yeah. Right. So these are the witnesses. We don't know if this Martha Hampton is the same. I would expect not.
Okay.
Because it would make no sense to have one person with two legal names.
Yeah. I'm not sure when her if that Martha in her father's name, Walter or William, he might have not been around when she got married.
Right. So we've got some questions, but it looks like, and so I would still, we do have a Martha.
Yeah, Walter Scott died in 1895.
Right. So I'm inclined to accept the identification. Now here's the Nina that you had talked about.
Yeah.
And if her husband is named Nimrod, that explains, okay. So I'm comfortable with this assignment of Laura Gray, who married Harry Earl Baker, as being the daughter of Martha.
Martha
so,
Gray.
Right. So we will leave Harry's wife, Laura, as she is here. And we've got a lot of relationships. We've got Laura to Harry, Laura to each of the children, Laura to both her parents. So I want to keep this LY8G RWH as LY8G I'm going to save that one as everything related to Harry Baker.
Okay.
All right. So now let me close some of these. All right. So we've got now, I want to separate off the documents for Elmer Messersmith and the documents for John Clark. So, while we're at it, let's go look at these other items for Laura Gray and see if we've got an explanation for this Laura being the one that we're looking for. So it's in Kenton, Kentucky, and it just has her name, Laura Gray, Walter Scott. Oh, it says Laura Clark. It does say family members, Walter Scott Gray. So her parents are buried in this, where are her parents buried? In Fort Mitchell?
I don't know. I never looked at it to see.
Okay. Her parents are,
Another county.
right. So we don't know who made this identification as Laura Clark being the daughter of Sir Walter Scott. Of Walter Scott. So we don't know if this is a correct assumption. Let's go look at what else we had. We have a death record for Laura Clark. And let's take a look at that. Oh, that looks much more promising. Okay, so here we do have the deceased is Laura Clark. She is married. Her father is Walter Scott Gray. Her mother is Martha Brittenham. Her husband is John B. Clark. So when we go back and look at the lists, we can see that this John Clark does belong to the same person as
I think so.
Harry Baker. So it's only going to be the
Messersmith.
Messersmith that we need to separate. So the case that we have here is that we have a Laura Gray, who is the daughter of Walter Scott Gray and Martha Jane Brittenham, and we know that from her death records. She was married to Harry Earl. She had these children, and then she married John B. Clark. And that looks great, but the problem is when we then go to look at the records that are attached to her, somebody has attached a bunch of records that do not belong to her.
Ooh.
And so we want to, remove those and possibly put them where they belong.
Can I ask a question? Would you try to contact that person who did, again, they haven't done anything since 2018. And every time I come across a situation where I need to contact somebody, nobody ever responds back.
Right. And I looked at hers and she does not list her
Right.
email address.
Right.
So, is she related to me?
Yeah, I have nothing.
No, I have found somebody I'm not related to. But no, I'm not going to try to contact her, but I am very much going to be a skillful surgeon, and I'm going to document the work. And because somebody has gone to the extra effort of looking at this and attaching it to somebody, I am going to try and find the correct person that it belongs to. Okay? So first off is I'm going to pull all these records that I want to deal with that belong to Messerschmitt. Now this is Baker, this is Clark. This one was,
Baker marriage.
no, this was the Elmer Messerschmitt.
Oh, the 15, yeah, 1915, yes, that's right.
I want to get rid of that one too. And that's Josie Baker, that's the Clark, that's the Clark. Here's another Messerschmitt. Okay. And another Messerschmitt. Another Messerschmitt. Okay, so we've got Clark, Clark, Josie Baker, Baker, Clark, Baker. All right. So we've got quite a lot of records that we need to put them onto the correct people. So let's first off find if we know who that correct people is. And so if I go to this was the marriage record that we were looking at. And it had the name of the parents as William Gray and Laura Adams, maybe Adams. I am wondering if we review the attachments, if we might run into the correct family. And sometimes it's just as easy as that, just detaching the incorrect person and leaving it attached where it correctly belongs. Okay, so we have Laura B. Gray attached to Laura Gray, who's the wife of Harry Earl. We know that's wrong. We have Elmer Messerschmitt attached, so he's attached somewhere. Let's find out where he is. So when we go over to this little triangle and we hover on detach, it says this source is attached to someone else in family tree. Elmer F. Messerschmitt, and it has his link.
Number, yeah.
I'm going to open that in a new tab. So now we've got Elmer. He's got 11 items attached. He's got no spouse. Let's see what we've got here. We've got his war registration. We've got his like 1930, 1940, 1920 census.
Marriage.
Right, let's take a look at this 1920 census. So I'm intrigued that they had him, they attached it to him, but they did not attach it. Did they not attach it to anybody else in the family? Right, so they didn't attach it to anyone else in the family. This one's in a bit of a mess. We've got a Grover Messerschmitt, and so we've got him just floating out there in space. Okay, I know your instinct is, I don't care about these people, but these are living people at one time, and I would like, you know, out of respect to the family, they belong to somebody, I want to clear this up, okay? So I am going to, let's see, I am going to go and look at Elmer, and let's add a wife, and let's call her Laura B. Gray. And she's deceased. And let's see if they find her. It says no match found, so we'll create the person. Okay, I'm going to create the person. I'm going to copy her ID. And I'm going to go back to these records. And I am going to replace the ID with Laura, that's Harry Baker's wife, with the new ID. So I'm going to detach it. And Laura B. Gray's parents are listed on her marriage record as William Gray and, what was it? Something Ann Adams?
I can't remember.
I know, I can't either. That was 5 minutes ago. And that's why you really do want to look at every record. This does not have all the information
Right.
that this record has. This record has, makes it clear.
Laura Adams.
Yeah, Laura Adams. So it's, you can't stop with the index. You've got to look at the actual record itself. All right, and Laura Adams. Therefore cannot be the same Laura, daughter of Walter Scott.
Yeah.
Gray.
And Martha.
Harry. Right. Harry Baker. So we're leaving an explanation. You know, sometimes I just like, oh, you know, it's obvious. Well, somebody it wasn't obvious to.
Right, right.
So I'm going to leave that level of detail. Now I need to go and I need to change the focus person on the tree side to that number that I copied for the Laura that I created.
Okay.
That is Elmer's wife. And so now we were lined up Laura B. Gray, Elmer Messersmith. We can compare them and attach. Okay, one down. All right. So now let us refresh the screen. We've got the marriage down. Let's go to Elmer's death record. We're going to review the attachments. And we can see that the others have been attached, but for this Laura, and I'm going to say Laura Gray, who married Elmer Messersmith, was listed in their 1915 marriage record as the daughter of William Gray and Laura Adams, so could not be the Laura Gray, daughter of Walter Scott Gray, who married Harry Baker in 1907. Okay, so we've given, now I might go even so far as to leave numbers, but I'm not going to. She can look them up and double check it. I'm leaving enough information for her.
I think so.
Okay, so we're going to go to change the focus person to that same number and attach it. And refresh.
So it's really nice that I see what you're doing and I understand it. But I guess it's nice we're creating this for somebody's family.
Yes, and the reason that it's worth doing that is that you're hoping that somebody will have that same respect for your family,
Mm-hmm.
and that they will, not make a mess of, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and I'm going to copy that explanation from her change that I created here,
Mm-hmm.
because it's easier to copy the number. So I've got this information here. I'm going to just copy it over here, and I'm going to save that. And then I want to get Elmer's wife, copy her ID, go back, change the focus person to Elmer's wife, and we're done. Okay.
I would not be confident to do this on my own.
We're recording it, but I do want you to be. I want, but thank you for stopping me. So let's talk again about what I'm doing. And we'll do that because we've got more to go. But I see here that I have Grover Messersmith as the son, and he's already attached to somebody. So I'm going to explore. I'm going to look at that, and here's Grover's number. Now, all right, let's talk about what we're doing. Here we've got this 1920 census for the household of Elmer Messersmith. Here's Elmer. Here's Laura, his wife. Don't be confused by that. It is confusing, but ignore it because it's the same information. So we know that Elmer had a wife, Laura, and a son, Grover, and a brother, Henry. So we want to make sure that this record is attached to Elmer, to his wife, Laura, to his son, Grover, and to his brother, Henry. And Grover is 1 year old. We know that Laura and Elmer married in 1915, so Grover is Laura's son as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so now we've got this 1920 census attached to Laura, attached to Elmer. It's attached to their son, but his son is not showing up in their tree. Where is his son? And we opened up his profile, and we see his son doesn't have a parent. Well, we know who the parent was. Let's make sure it's the same Grover Messersmith. So Grover Messersmith in Kentucky Death Records is the son of Elmer and Laura Bell Gray. So it is the same kid. Let's take him. We're going to copy his ID, and we're going to go back to Elmer, and we're going to add him as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to add him by ID number.
Number, okay. And you don't have to type all that stuff again.
You don't have to type it, okay? This is the Grover, 1919, died. Oh, God, he was 3 years old when he died. That always makes me sad. even
Yeah.
Still. All right, so now we have this. So now let's go back to that document, and this is the, let's review the attachments, but let's refresh this screen. Okay, so now we have Laura, we have Elmer, we have their son Grover, but we've still got Elmer's brother Harry. Okay, we want to attach Henry as Elmer's brother. So to do that, and this is going to be a little tricky, we're going to need to change the person of record, the focus person on the record, to Elmer. Now we're going to see Elmer's family tree. You see, we've got Elmer's parents, Elmer's wife, Elmer's children. If we go back, let's take a look when we had Laura as the focus person. We didn't have any parents because nobody's attached William Gray and Laura Adams. And as an OCD person, I would go ahead and do that because I know it, but I realize that may be spending more hours on somebody's tree than you're wanting to. Okay, but this is fairly simple. I'm going to just clean this up. I have parents. I'm going to assume, for the sake of argument, that Henry is the son of these parents, and I'm going to open up the siblings record for Elmer. Elmer is the person of record, so these are Elmer's children, these are Elmer's siblings. I will open up that, and now if I take Henry and I drag him up, see, there's nothing there. You think, well, if I drag him up, that yellow space means I'm creating somebody.
Okay.
So now I'm going to create that person. Ancestry is going to go and say, do we already have a Henry Messersmith who was born in 1903? And so we'll all wait with bated breath while Family Search is looking through its files to see if they can find. And then I'm going to say, I'm tired of waiting. I'm going to just add him. And so I am going to create a new person. He's deceased, born in 1903. He's male. And I will let somebody else deal with that if there are duplicates. So I've got Henry now, I've added him, I've attached it. So that record is now clean. And if we go in,
I'm sorry, if you were doing that and it was a duplicate, wouldn't you get a message, hey, this is a duplicate?
I would. And it's possible, that spinning wheel, I don't know if it meant that I interrupted it. If there is a duplicate, well, if we go and refresh this, here's Elmer. We now have his brother Henry. And if we go and look at Henry, it's not finding a duplicate here.
Good.
So
Good.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go back to Elmer there. All right. So I'm going to copy this explanation again because I'm going to use it for the next record. And I am going to her sources. This is our Laura. And I'm going to make sure that we've refreshed. So the next we've got to do is Laura Bell and her entry for Lillian May. I am going to just go in here, and we can do a couple of things. We can continue to do the long version where I am looking at everything and say, okay, I just need to change, I need to detach this, and I paste my reason why. And then I'm going to change to Elmer's wife, Laura Bell. And so I'm going back and forth from Laura to Elmer to the record. And so I add that new number, the correct number for Laura Bell Gray, and I compare and attach. Now, they've got a spouse here. Yeah. Okay, they do have Lillian May as a person who already exists. So yeah, I like to do a little bit of cleanup. Again, she's existing out there all by her lonesome. So I'm going to go over, copy her number, go to Elmer, and let's see. So this is a daughter of Laura and Elmer's.
And she died too, 2 years old.
And so, yeah, I think she deserves to be in a tree. So I am going to add her here by ID number. And Lillian May. And so now, you know, she's in the family. And it really wasn't that much work for me to do that. And so now if you refresh Lillian May, now she has family. And, you know, I just feel better about that. She does not have a spouse because she was 2 years old. So I'm not gonna go check that out. I'm not even, as you see, looking at the images. I'm just going on the basis of what the indexers provided, because I'm doing cleanup out of the goodness of my heart. So I'm going to refresh, and now we've got Maddie Hook. Now this one may have a tree already. So we've got Elmer and his daughter Maddie, and others listed on the record. But we do have Elmer as the father. And let's go.
Never mind.
No, what was that?
It said husband, but it's because it's Laura Bell. Laura Bell.
Right. Oh, and they do have Laura Bell up here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what I'm going to do? We can just detach this from our Laura. Go to our Laura's, the change list, and copy that paragraph that we've been using. And, okay. So I am not going to deal with all those other people in the document.
No, God, no.
Okay, so I've been a good person, and we've moved it to the right place. So I'm going to refresh the screen, and now I've got Laura with Grover Elmer. I'm going to detach. Oh, well, I'll let other people attach that stuff. And so, you know, we've created people. These will show up on the correct Laura. So I'm just going to go quickly through and detach them from the Laura they do not belong to. And you can see it goes a lot faster. I just paste in that explanation that I have, and I'm done. So now I've got just my Laura's. Okay. Now, if you go back to the Elmer, and let's look at Laura Bell Gray. These are all the things that we detached. Somebody else can come along and attach them to her. So if you don't do the review attachments and all of that, they will show up right here. Even though we haven't attached them to her, we have attached enough records to Laura and Elmer, Lily and Grover, that these other records are showing up in the correct person profile. Okay? All right. Whew. Yes, that was, but you know, that is something you're going to run into a lot. And I think that it's something we shouldn't shy away from doing.
Well, like if I'm doing a search on a family member and all you've got, you don't have the document, all you have is the index. And I'm not always sure because I want to see the document.
Right.
Go ahead and put it in, I just said maybe.
And generally, you know, you saw at the very beginning with the, you know, with the marriage record, we were looking at the images themselves.
Right.
And pulling together. And then once we were convinced in our mind what the situation was, we knew that it was a repeated mistake, this attaching her to other people.
Yeah.
So
and that's right if you have the record, but sometimes you don't have the record.
Right.
All you have is the index. And so it's like, well, what is that really my person? I don't know. Bernie
should have been here. We're going to use his case. So sorry, Bernie, but it was a good case. I think his was really the same kind of a question.
Okay.
Okay. So in this case, we had, let me review. All right, here's his message. So he had,
that's my message.
So here it is up here. So they have research hints. Okay. All right. When you open up the research hint for Georg, it's attached to somebody already. And the same for his wife, Maria Anna. Now I'm not sure. He says Maria Anna Mall, Maria Anna Brumer. Oh, okay. So his wife, Maria Anna, is attached to a Maria Anna Brunner, and his son, Carl, is attached to a different number. And so he wants to know, how do you decide? He says, when I click view my relationships, it says that Georg Ambs is second cousin 4 times removed, and John Georg is second great grandfather. I'd like to have seen that. So, okay, so he was looking at this hint, and when he opened this hint up and did a review, it indicated that the hint was already attached to the tree, and it was attached to this Georg Ambs. And when when Bernie went to John Georg and said, view my relationship to John Georg, he found that John Georg was his second great-grandfather, and George Georg, George Ambs, when he did the same thing, was his second cousin 4 times removed. And so that said to him, well, they're both saying this guy is related to me. So here's the thing. Yes, they're both related to him, and they're related to each other. And that's how they're both related to him, because George Ambs is a relative of Johann Georg Ambs, but they're not the same person. Even though Johann Georg was born in 1813, died in 1869, he had a wife named Maria Anna, and he had a son named Karl. And George Ambs, we don't know when he was born, but he had a wife named Maria Anna, who was born around the same time, 1815, as this Maria. And they have a son born 1858, and he had a son named Karl born in 1859. And so you think, well, what's the likelihood of that happening? Really good, actually. It's really common for brothers and even cousins to end up giving their children the same names.
Mm-hmm.
And so, dog check here. Yes, you may go outside. You want YouTube. She inevitably says, no, I don't want to go out, until he said, look, a squirrel. And then she's like, oh my God, I've got to go out. Okay, so so we want to see, is this record that we're looking at, does it belong to Georg Ambs and his wife Maria Anna Brunner, or does it belong to Johann Georg Ambs and his wife Maria Anna Moll? Because those appear to be 2 different people. This person's got 21 records attached to him. We've got, Sonia Meyer, Micah Zabel have been working on him. So it looks like he's a real person. And he's got, parents and children. So we don't want to just jump to the assumption that this record that we're looking at is misattached. We want to figure out, what it is. Now, let's look at that record. Okay. Well, let's start by looking at the record here. Okay. So we've got an index. It says the wife's name is Maria Anna Brunner, and the child is Karl Ambs. So right there, just based on the index, it looks like this does belong to the person to whom it's already attached, and does not belong to our Johann Georg, okay? So our Johann Georg was married to Maria Anna Moll. Our Maria Anna Brunner, according to the index, was the wife of George Ambs, and we have that family here. All right, so let's go to the image, and we get to visit a partner site. And the partner site has the index summary and the record. All right, so we're looking at digitized 119 entry 1 for Carl Ambs. I'm at the top of this index page. Carl Ambs, who died in January of 1858, a male. His father was Georg Ambs and his mother was Maria Anna Brunner. And here's the document.
Good luck.
Now it says number 1, and so I zoomed out and said, okay, how many entries do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entries, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entries. Okay, I'll accept that that's the document we're looking at. The only thing in this whole thing, now looking down at, I would assume this says Carl Ambs. That looks like 13 January. Let's see if I can read anything from another record. This record is number 2.
February.
February 6th.
February 6th. It looks like that. Yeah.
Okay, you're better than I am.
Well, I know a little German, but.
Oh, good. 'Cause I am totally, I recognize the Ambs here.
Yeah, but the line above that where it says something 6 February.
Right. Does it say Ambs here?
Yes, that does say Ambs. Looks
Okay.
like it to me.
So in other words, in this case, I can't go by the record. I have to go by the index.
And the header says 1858, doesn't it?
Yeah, the numbers I can read.
Right there, yeah.
And I could read Georg Ambs here.
And then go down, scroll down a little bit more because I think there was another date. See right here, 16 January 1858.
Right.
That was that number 1 guy.
Right. Well, no,
Yeah.
the 13 January here, that fits that 13 there.
Oh yeah, well, okay, maybe they signed off on this in 6.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got the Georg Ambs, that's Georg Ambs here, but they're saying Maria Anna Brunner. I can see Maria Anna.
Geboren, that's Geboren. That means that was her born name. And who know, does that say Brunner? I don't know.
Neither do I. So effectively, in this case, I am stuck with counting on the indexer making a good reading. And so it gets to, you know, the situation that you have. If you can't read the document itself, yes, I will go by the indexer. If I absolutely can't get the document, I go by what information I have.
You know, there are some people that would probably try to translate that for you if you know somebody.
Right.
You know,
Right.
on Facebook, I've gotten into some German genealogy groups, and a lot of people will post the things on there, and people who know German will help translate it for you.
Yes, and in fact, that would take us to the Facebook part. But yes, you're right.
Yeah.
If this were my family, I would do it.
But I would do that too, right? Exactly.
I'm saying that in some cases, you know, where you just have an index and no document.
Right.
Question.
Yes. In this case, what?
Got a question, Kate. What part of the document I can barely make out, handwritten, in German that you want to know about?
Well, I wanted to know about the part that it said where it says Carl Ambs.
Okay.
I don't, you know, I'm assuming maybe this is it. Maybe it's Ambs.
And Carl.
Carl. That looks like to me, I can see Ambs there. That looks like a Brunel, but you know, And then,
Yeah, I'd say you're correct.
yeah, but I can see possibly an AL, maybe that's an RAL. And if they've been reading a lot of these documents, maybe that is a K. I don't do German research because it's too bloody hard. My
Well,
hat
and
goes
you
off
have,
to you guys.
you also back in the day too had different script, and
Yes,
and the letters are different than what we know. And so that
right,
and then again, the way these people scribble these documents,
right. I mean,
I even had a German person help me with a document, and she had a hard time deciphering some of it because the script was so old and
right. I mean,
And I'll tell you one other quick thing, that before 1870, German was actually 5 different languages, or 4 different,
oh God,
yeah, what do you call it?
that makes sense.
Yeah, there's 4 different
Idioms or,
languages that were not
Right.
High German.
right,
High German came into being universally in the 1870s. So you had Mainz Deutsch, the people from Mainz, Germany. You had Bayern Deutsch, people from Bavaria,
uh-huh.
and then you had Platt Deutsch, people from North Germany, and you had Prussian German from Berlin.
Oh boy.
So you had 4 separate dialects to the same language, and they're very distinct because they're spelled differently.
Oh
People
God.
that my wife was from Mainz, Germany, and she had a book in Mainzy Deutsch, meaning German from Mainz area, which included part of France at one time. And that language is very hard for her to read, and she's a born and raised German.
yeah.
So that's the other problem there. And this script it looks like it's in German. Is it in German?
It looks like it to me, but it's so hard to read. I can't tell you. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm assuming it came
Yeah,
from
it
it came
is,
from
because
Freiburg, so it has to be in German.
it has to be, yeah, like Januar, so rather than January.
Yes,
That's
Januar.
And then
And it's
Jenny.
not Latin.
Right?
Yeah.
No. I'm sure it's German of some sort, but
Yeah.
deciphering it is one thing.
Right. So in this case, we have this document. It is not a match. So I would, though I'm making that judgment based on the index myself.
Mhm.
And
Okay. Deceased.
and the fact that there seems to be another person who's being researched that fits this profile. So
Also, I have another quick question. Sorry for interrupting.
not at all.
Okay. Rosie, are these your relatives?
No. This is Bernie's.
Bernie's.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see. I'm beginning to see now. I just now reading the top there. Baden-Württemberg, and that's the State Archives in Freiburg. Okay. Yeah. That would be High German there. Okay.
Okay. So, in this case where you've got a hint that is not his, just simply say it's not his, and go in and give an explanation. The record index lists the death of Carl Ambs in 1858, and lists his parents as Georg Ambs and Maria
Brunner.
Anna Brunner.
Anna Brunner. Yeah.
Maria Anna Brunner. And in ours, we've got Carl. Carl didn't die until 1861.
61. And he wasn't even born till 59.
Right. Carl Ambs, son of Johann and Maria Anna Moll, was not born until 1859 and died in 1861.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're leaving for posterity. And not a bad thing to do now that there are actually so many people working on the tree to leave messages like that.
Mhm.
Okay. So that covered Bernie's question and it covered Rosie's question. Do you guys have an interest in what to do with your security on Facebook?
Sure.
Always.
All right.
I dropped Facebook because of that.
Okay. Well, let's go and see if we can get you more comfortable with it. Ian, you're on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Who?
Ian.
Yeah.
But you've got your privacy set up so people can't even find you, correct?
I don't know.
All right.
I keep getting requests for being a friend, and I don't need any friends.
All right. Because I think I tried to friend you, but I couldn't even find you.
Well,
Okay.
who did you look for?
Well,
You look for Ian Stern?
yeah.
Yeah.
I looked
well,
for Ian Stern.
there likes skateboarding. That certainly isn't me.
And I looked for an Ian Stern who was living in Navarre, Florida, and didn't find him.
Oh, really?
Right,
Oh, well, then I must restrict it.
right. So I was hoping that you would be able to tell us how you did that.
Yes. Well, I can't tell you because if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
No. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out how to do that. So here we are, we're at our Facebook page. And they've probably changed the process since you did it, because you did it several years ago. So we're gonna have to figure out how we can secure our Facebook page, because
Well, why don't you Google how to secure a Facebook page?
well, let me see what they've got. So when I go to my profile, and that's this little down arrow here, and I click on that, it
Privacy.
says settings and privacy. Okay, let's click on that. Okay, so we've got settings, we've got a privacy checkup, we've got privacy shortcuts, we've got activity log. This is kind of cool. So if you want to see what have you done lately,
Hmm.
you can see all the things you've done. And so recently I requested to join the Sonora State Genealogy group, and I want to go back to that group. I can find it through my activity log. Oh, and they've approved me. So now I can go and visit their site and I can ask my question, but I won't do that on your time. Okay, so account, settings and privacy, that was the activity log. You can set your preferences for your news feed. You can see who you're going to see first. You can choose not to see people. If you have chosen not to see people and now you want to see them, you can change that. So I can select who I want to see. And I want to see, let's say, I want to see transcript first. Okay. So you can choose the items that are going to show up first on your feed. And that is, whenever you click your feed here, those are the things that show up at the top. If you've got a bunch of people that are showing up at the top, let's say this person, her stuff is showing up on the top. I don't even want to see it. If I click these 3 lines, I can unfollow her. And so I'm not going to see her stuff. And I did this for a lot of people who post memes that I am not interested in seeing. Now, Elizabeth Schoen Mills, she's got stuff that I generally like. So I could even turn on notifications. So anytime she posts something, I will get a notification about that. You can see that I am following her because I want to see her stuff. And I think I've got it set up as seeing her first. Let's see, I'm concerned about unfollow, temporarily snooze, stop seeing. Okay. So they have changed it and I'm having problems figuring out what's changed. Skip do it. I used to want to see him. So you can go through the feed and look at the, actually I like to see Judy's. I like to see Marion Pierre-Louis. Normally she does genealogy stuff. Oh, this one's really interesting for those of you who have family in the Florida Panhandle. Kathleen Bunyan Passmore. Her Santa Rosa County, Florida history website is great. So I've actually gone through this and cleaned it out. So I don't really see people that I don't want to see, but you want to do that. When you run into somebody, I don't want to, I'm trying to find somebody that I don't want to see, and there's nobody that I don't want to see because I've already cleaned it up. So that's what you want. You want a news feed that only has people that you're interested, that only has stuff you're interested in looking at. You don't want to be looking through a news feed and be saying, God, why am I seeing this? All right. So that's one thing that you can do to control your Facebook page so that it is useful and not useless for you. All right. Okay, so next, I want to, we're back, still at our privacy. I want to look at, let's look at what the settings are. You can do your security and login, your information. There's a wealth of stuff that you can modify here. If we go back to settings and privacy, there's this thing called privacy shortcuts and privacy checkup. What are those? The privacy checkup is going to guide you through the settings to make you, to help you set up who can see what you share, how to secure your information, how people can find you if you don't want to be visible, what your data settings are, and your ad preferences.
Got a quick question, Kay.
Yes.
If one wants to be super private, should you use a nom de plume?
Yes, you can, but you don't need to.
Okay.
But a lot of people do that. And so, for example, my nephew is in the Marine Special Forces. And so he has been advised by his leadership not to have an account under his actual name.
Uh-huh.
And so he does use a nom de plume. And, you know, you run into a lot of people who have names you don't recognize. And they'll be on your friends list because they've changed their names since you friended them. And you know, no longer, now they're, you know, Happy Hunter, and you have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
So yes, you have the option of changing your name. Okay, now,
So is that a way to keep your account secure from other people hacking it?
right, we're gonna look through those. The privacy shortcuts. So this is the privacy checkup. The privacy shortcuts is that privacy checkup, but expanded. So they are really trying to do everything they can to make it clear to you how you can change your privacy. You can change all sorts of stuff on settings. This is kind of like the whole book. You can do a guided where I'm only going to look at one. This is sort of like the TurboTax approach. We're only going to look at one little part at a time.
Mm-hmm.
This is guided, but you get to sort of look at the big picture for privacy. Okay, so tools to control your privacy. Control who sees what you share, and manage data that helps us personalize experiences. All right, then you can take actions to make your account more secure, and you can take actions to learn how ads work. All right, so let's review a few important privacy settings. Okay, so this takes us back here. Who can see what you share? Let's start there. We'll walk through the options to make sure they're right for you. We're going to have your profile information. That's your name, your date of birth, where you live, your posts and stories. That's those highly politicized memes that you put up, or your porn, and blocking. Those are, you know, ways that you can not let anybody, a particular person, see you at all. So let's go to continue. Okay, so review the information, and your profile may have more than is listed. Review this info from your profile and decide who you're comfortable with seeing it. Your profile may have more info, more than is listed here. Okay, it doesn't tell me what to do with that more, so I'm going to have to go back and figure that out. I've got a big All right, my email, this is my backup email. That's available only to me. I do have an email that's available to everybody. To my friends, what are my options? I could have it made available to everybody, to my friends, to me. I could customize a list of people who can see that email. So you've got your custom list. So we've got our close friends. We've got our main custom list. Okay, I created a Saturday genealogy custom list. So I have two custom lists that I've created. I have no idea what the main is. So you have several ways of limiting who gets to see what. Let's see. So if I say close friends, so I can only choose friends or a particular group. All right, so I can't choose multiple groups. I'm going to just let anybody who is my Facebook friend see it. All right. Your friends might miss wishing you a happy birthday if you set it only to me. I'm fine with that. So my birthday, I'm going to keep private to myself. I've let my current city be public. And that means that when somebody searches for me, they would be able to search for me by my city as well. And I'm letting my workplace past insight be public because this is my genealogy website. I don't think they need to know what high school I went to. I don't mind if they know what college I went to.
Berkeley.
Sorry, I am a flaming liberal socialist, West Coast, Berkeley. Now, who can see your friends list on your profile? This is one that if you are using this as a personal family page, you are going to want to set your restrictions to only your friends. Or maybe you're going to want to even limit it further and create a specific group like your family and friends, close family and friends who have access to your entire list of friends, but not all your friends. So in other words, there'll be some friends on your list who won't be able to see your friends list. Okay? So you have that kind of control. Now, I'm sure your question is, how do we make these lists? Well, let's see. We explore. Okay, so if I want to say I want all my friends, I want specific friends to see my friends list. I want Vicky and Navarre to see it. And I want Amy, I want Amy to see it. And let's see. So I can go through and I'm gonna let Bernie see it. So I'm creating a new, I'm hoping I'm creating a new list. Okay, so no, that is now the list for, that is now my custom list. Okay, so let's see, we've got custom list. Can I create another custom list? Let's see if I've, whoops. Oh, this is friends, don't show to some friends. And this is where you should, okay, so this is where you can exclude people that you don't want to see it. And this is where you can choose specific people that you want to see it. And whenever I do that, it creates and supplants the custom list. So we're going to have to learn more about lists because I have these lists that I've created and I don't see anything here about how to create them. So I'm going to note that down on my list of to-dos. How do I create custom lists on Facebook for people who can see my friends? Every good genealogist has a piece of paper at their side to write stuff down on. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as my friends can see it. Who can see the people, pages, and lists you follow? Again, if you want to be private and you don't want people to know who you are following or who you are connected to, who you are interested in, you're going to want to change this setting the same way. All right? Any questions about that so far?
No, that whole page, I just leave it to friends only.
Right. Okay, so that's all your profile information, all the stuff about you, and that's who your friends are and who can see what you're following. All right. Next one, who you want to see what you post. Things that you want to see that you've posted in the future. Now, the thing is, if you post something like a really neat article about genealogy and you have it set to only your friends, and then I try to share that really cool article with everybody else, they will get something, they will see something that says this is not visible. And so I won't know that until somebody tells me, I can't see it. And then I would have to go in and I would have to open that article up and I would have to create it as a new post. So when you have friends, that limits who I share it to, who your friends can share it to. So that's, that's something to be aware of. Now, limit past posts. Change who can see past posts that were public or friends of friends to only friends. So this is stuff in the past. If you've changed your opinion now about what you want people to see, you are about to limit all of the posts on your timeline. The only way to undo this will be to change the audience of each post one at a time. So that is something to be aware of. If I go back and change it, limit who can see posts that were public or friends of friends to only friends. Anyone tagged in these posts and their friends may still see them. Well, apparently I've limited that. I don't know what that one means. But if you want to, what is that term? If you want to err on the side of caution,
Leave it as a setting that,
I would limit it.
yeah.
Set these to something you want to share with. And now individual posts, you can go in. So individual posts that you want to send only to immediate family members, you can do that. This is just your standard. When I throw something up on Facebook, who is it going to go to? It's going to only go to, my whatever I have set here. All right. Now, let's go to look at that for a minute. And let's look at my profile, what I've posted. So there was this really interesting article about a donor who was a sperm donor, and then everybody and their uncle now can find out who their sperm father was. Mm-hmm. And he had, when he donated sperm, he had been assured that only 5 children would be used for his sperm, and they would all be on the East Coast. And when DNA testing became widely available and his progeny got in touch with him, he learned he'd been lied to. And he had, in fact, 19 children and counting. And worse, some of them were in his town. And so that raises the question of, you know, who did my son date? One of his sisters? So he was not happy about a lot of things. And he thinks really he'd rather never have known
Any of them.
at all.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyhow, so that gets at Ian's question about, you know, everybody can find out who your children are, and you may not want to know who your children are. Okay, so I can edit the audience for that to this specific, any specific group. So realize that if you've got your Facebook page and you put something up that you don't want to go to anybody but a handful of people, you can go and edit that audience
Okay.
to specific people. And when you create a post, you can do the same thing. You can, at inception, you can decide who is going to get to see it. All right? So you have total control over that. You can feel completely at ease about posting pictures of your family and knowing that they are not going to be available to pedophiles. Okay? All right. Because I think that was a concern for people, that their children's pictures were showing up in pedophiles' catalogs. All right, so you can control everybody who sees your old posts, and you can control your future posts. Stories offer you even more control in that stories disappear after 24 hours. So if you want to have, you know, regular updates to your family about, you know, you just want to periodically let them know, hey, I'm doing okay, or, you know, I've got a cold this week. And you don't want a record of that to last for posterity. Stories are only going to be visible for 24 hours, and then they're going to disappear from everybody's record, no matter whose. So if you got to, let's see, how do we set up? We create a post. Who can see the post? How do we create a story? Life event. Raise money. Okay, so that's another question that I've got is, we've already done, okay, we got to do that. How do I post stories rather than posts? Okay, because we've seen that stories disappear after 24 hours and you want to use that really cool thing. What do? So we've got manage posts, select posts. So you can go in and you can select particular posts and you can filter them by, so you can collect particular posts and you can hide them or delete them or whatever. I selected things that other people had made. So if I unselect all and I select, unselect all, if I select posted by me and all for, let's say 2019, done, I can see all the posts that I made in 2019, and I can go through if some of them are ones that I didn't really mean to share publicly. I can just go in and I can hide them, or I can delete them. I can't, to change their public status, I would have to go into them individually. And I would have to, you know, it's one that somebody else left. Okay, so so if you want to edit the audience, you have to do it individually. If you want to get rid of a bunch of posts, you can do that here. So you can get rid of a bunch of posts that other people have put on your account. Let's say you want to get rid of everything that's posted by others. And you can delete them all from your page at one fell swoop, okay? So you have control over what is visible on your timeline. All right, so we were still back with, now you're thinking, God, this is a lot of work. It is,
Yeah.
but it's work in the sense that it's giving you the power to control what you've created that is informative about yourself and who has access to that information. Now, I hope that I've made a strong case in the past for why Facebook is really good. And that's because you have all of these websites that I rely on. You know, the GEDCOM, the DNA GEDCOM users group. I mean, I use these all the time. It is a tremendous resource, and I can't tell you enough. When I've got a question, you know, I've got a question about Sonoran state genealogy, I'm going to go here and I'm going to ask this question that I wouldn't be able to get answered anywhere else. I have access to people that I just don't have access to anywhere but on Facebook. People who are experts on genealogy and Mexican genealogy, and specifically Mexican genealogy in the state of Sonora. So this is valuable. Yes, you're going to have to go through some, and you're going to have to figure out this about your profile. So here, who can see what you think, what you share? You're going to want.
If you post to another site like Sonora, does that post remain, or can you eliminate that?
You can eliminate your post if you post something on another website. Let me see if I can find a post that I've done on another website. Let's go to my profile, and let's look at, I want to filter the posts that I have posted, and I want to see only those that I have posted. But these are the ones that are on my timeline. I want to go to my...
When you've replied, when you've posted to another group or to another site.
Let's go to, okay, so let's go up to my profile, and I want to go to my settings and privacy, and I want to look at my activity log, because this shows all the stuff that I have posted on other places. So the icon here shows that I have posted it. This shows that somebody has approved my request. So that's a website I've posted to. This
Is your request on there permanently?
And,
Or do they have to eliminate it?
all right, so I'm looking for something that would be good for, okay, so Cheryl mentioned me in a comment. Let's go and look at that. So she has mentioned me, and let's say that I don't want to be mentioned in that.
Did you reply to it though? No, my question is, let's say she offers you information that you're interested in.
Right.
You go back to her and say, okay, I'm here, send it to me at my past and site address. Does that past and site address, is that posted on her or the group's account forever, or how do you get it off?
If she sent something to you, she would have sent it to you via a chat. And so
Well,
she would have sent it to you on a person-to-person message.
Well, that's a bad example. Let's say that you belong to a group.
Right.
You go into the group with a question and you provide your email address. And you don't want to get emails from everybody in the group. You just, I mean, you do, but you only want pertinent stuff. Then all of a sudden you start getting spam. You get spam from people because they have your address.
Okay.
So how do you
All right.
eliminate that?
So here I have a post that I made on the Facebook group New Jersey Genealogy.
Right.
If I click on these three buttons, I can edit that post. I can go in and remove my
Well,
email
you can delete
address.
it. You can delete it. I saw
Or
there
I could delete it. But let's say I just wanted to
right.
delete the email address. I can do that.
Okay.
I can remove the post. I can stop people from commenting on the post. I can,
Well, that was
edit it.
August the 15th. You did that on August the 15th. So if you go to your activity log, where does that show?
All right. So
That's the 16th.
I posted
the 16th,
this on August the 15th of this year.
Correct.
On August the 16th, I replied to Rita Mangan.
No. August the 15th. Let me see if that's on your
Here's
log
August
for August.
15th. Here's that
Okay,
post.
right there.
Right.
Now, so those three dots will give you the ability to eliminate that, I suspect. Those three
Let's
dots.
click. I can delete the post right
Okay.
there. Right.
All right, great. That answers my question.
Okay. Right. Yeah, so I can
Because how would they get in touch with the only way they would be able to answer that is to go back to the New Jersey Genealogy website and post it there, right? They can't, you've not provided them
Well,
your own address.
let's say I had my email address here. Is that,
Yeah.
you posted a message, and in your message you included your email address, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. You've given them information you don't want everybody to see, because obviously everybody will see that belongs to that group.
Okay. Now, if there's something where, like in this case, where there's been an exchange,
Are they answering you there?
right. So we've got, so here it says, I live in Florida. I'm trying to get a copy of the 1939 death certificate for Jacob Goldman. Are there any volunteers who do lookups at the archives? Are the archives open? Okay, so they're not open yet.
What's that mean?
That means the archives, I asked.
Oh, the archive.
Right, the archives aren't open yet. She says they're not open, but once I am, I'm sure we'll all be living there. This person suggested I check familysearch.org, and I replied that there was a gap in the 1930s.
Right.
Now this one says when they open, I can add you to my list. I don't want to delete this message.
Right.
I want to edit it.
But the only people that can see that are you and the people on that list, right?
If you
I
have a
have-
list.
No,
Everybody that belongs to that group can see you, can
correct.
see you.
Because of how I have set up my privileges over here. Who can
So
see what I share?
the caution would be is if you're going to post to a group, be careful what you put in that group.
Yeah,
because,
sure.
because
And-
before you know it, you're going to get letters from guys that are willing to help you for $1,000 a minute or
Right.
something.
That's where, who can see what you, choose who you'd like to see your future posts.
But not in a group. You
So-
can't do that in a
You can choose friends. When you join a group, the people in that group become your friends.
Exactly. So
Right.
everyone in that group will see you.
Everyone in the group will see you, and that's how they'll be able to say things like, when the archive opens, I will add you to my list. Because everybody in the group can see this message that I posted to the group.
Yeah, that I understand. That's not my
But
my main concern.
if you are
my concern is to be careful what you post to a
Right.
group.
And if
Otherwise,
you have,
you start getting solicitations from people who they're just trying to scam you.
right. And
Well,
so,
if somebody in your group doesn't keep their group private and they've got all their friends seeing it and all their friends seeing it, I think that's what you're talking about, Ian.
No, I'm talking about a person who is in business to provide information. The guy he's either in business or he's a scammer, and he belongs to as many groups as he can.
Oh, yeah, just.
As soon as you post something, you become bait for him to solicit. He
Yeah, I
can
guess
go
there are
back-
people, yeah. I guess.
Yeah,
some
they can
people-
go back to you and they say, hey, I can look up your buddy. It'll cost you $20.
okay, so there's a couple of things you can do. First off, these are private groups, which means that you have to be a member of the New Jersey Genealogy in order to view this.
Right.
So if you are getting spammed by a member of New Jersey Genealogy, then you're going to want to contact the administrator, okay? And so let me see.
Yeah, that's a whole,
Um,
probably a bucket of worms.
Well, let's see, we've got history members. Okay, here are the administrators. So here is the group. Normally I see the discussion page. If I click on About, I can see who the administrators are. I can send a private message to one of the administrators saying, this person on New Jersey Genealogy Group is soliciting, using the Facebook page to solicit.
Right.
So that's one thing you do. Now, if you find that he has, you found that he's in a couple of places, well, then you go here and where you say, who can see what you share, you are going to say,
You can block that person.
right, let me see, you can say future posts, friends accept, all right? And so you
Yeah.
can limit this person that you don't want to see it. And he will not be
But-
able to see your post.
No, he'll be able to see. He won't be able to see your post to your page, but if you belong to a group, he'll be able to.
No, he won't see anything you post.
If I post it to the New Jersey group, he'll see that.
No, he won't. Because, well, I'm
No.
trying to think how, I'm not sure which way they did it, but my brother-in-law has made it so that I cannot see anything he posts ever
Right.
on
But you don't belong to,
on
but if he
anybody's
belong,
on anybody's page.
if he
So-
posts, if he answers a question to the New Jersey Genealogy group, you will see that.
If he answers a question on my sister's page,
You won't see it.
I won't see it because now I think that's because he's blocked me. So if there is a particular individual, you want to block them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when you block them, you won't see
Yeah.
them ever. You just won't see them. They don't
Okay.
exist as a person.
Okay, well, I'll figure it out.
Okay. So this is blocking. When you
Yeah.
block someone, they will no longer see things you post on your timeline, tag you, invite you to events or groups, start a conversation with you, or add you as a friend. So it is saying post on your timeline. Things you post, they won't be able to invite you to friends or groups. They won't be able to start you with a conversation.
All right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that is not keeping it private from this. I think this is who sees your future posts.
On your page, on your timeline.
On your timeline.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I understand. No, I
Right.
understand that. You know,
I think
often
that if you, I think that if you've got a person in a group that you don't want to see, you have to
no,
you have to block them.
you have to be careful, that's all. That's
No, you can block them because, like I said, my brother-in-law, I can't see things that I can't see his comments. I can
But
see other
if your brother-in-law posted to New Jersey Genealogy and that had a question for New Jersey Genealogy, and you went into that group, you would see his post, I think.
Well, that's what I'm not sure of, because the only
Yeah.
experience I have is where my brother-in-law has posted on my sister's timeline. And, you know, like my sister posted something on her timeline. I replied to it. She replied to me. He replied, and she replied to him. I saw my reply to her. I saw her reply to me, and I saw her reply to him. I
But
did
not
not
his.
see his comment because he's got me blocked.
Right.
And so I can't see anything that he posts anywhere.
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, it's a moot point.
but you know, dig into it, because
Yeah, I will.
all right, so we've got so these are all of the preferences that you're really going to want to set to only your friends. You know, restrict them to the people that you want to see them. Your posts, restrict them to the people you want to see. If somebody comes back and says, I want to share it, then you have two things you can do. You can go to your activity log and you can choose that post, and you can edit it to make it visible to other people. This is not, because it's in a private group, so I can't change that. It's restricted to a private group. But if I had something that I had posted on my Facebook page. And somebody said, I really wanted to pass that article about the DNA father. You can go in and edit that one article for who can see it.
Okay.
All right. The other thing that you can tell them, if they have posted something and only you can view it, and you want to be able to share it, you can. So there's something on my timeline, and let's say that Judy Russell has posted this and I want to share it, but without my realizing it, it is set for a limited to only people who are friends. If I open this and share it as a, copy the URL, I can now share it as a new post. And I can share it with whoever I want. Or I can go in and I can change the, so if somebody has sent this to me and I can't share it, I can open it, view it, and then create a new post for it. And sometimes you will see that where you're only able to like and comment.
Yeah, not share.
Right. Well, if you, oh, here's one. Okay. So here's one. I can only like or comment. I can't share it. I want to share that. I'm going to leave that earlier post that I made. I want to share that picture. Okay. I can, now this is the picture. I can't share the comments, but I can share the actual picture. So I can open that image up. All right, here's the image. I can now create a new post with that link. So if this were, instead of an image, if this were an article or something else, I could take the URL for that item, copy it, and then I can go back to my page and I can create an image. I can create that new profile, all right? And I can control who sees it. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, Ian?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, Miriam, are you feeling a little more in control of Facebook? I can't hear you.
She's muted.
She's muted. Miriam's muted.
Are you in the kitchen? Okay.
I unmuted.
Do you feel like you have a little more control over what you post and what information people are able to get from you?
Yes, my only problem was that somebody, and I couldn't track out who, was sending messages asking people to donate money. And I tried contacting Facebook to no avail.
Okay. So you can go to the link. I get a lot of those too.
Do you?
Yes, because Facebook they're doing everything they can to get people interested in, being online. And so every time, people have a birthday, now instead of just quietly acknowledging that you've got a birthday, you can now announce to people that you have a birthday and you want them to donate to a charity in your name.
Oh.
Right?
Cute.
So you can let's see. So we were at, who can see what you share? And this is what you're posting, all right? This is all about what you're posting. Now, we want to go forward and we want to see some other things, what we get to see on our page, how to keep your account secure. These are, let's see, if your password is used elsewhere, have unique passwords. Use a passphrase and then use the initials in those passphrase and that passphrase to form a password stub. So if your passphrase is choose a password that you don't use anywhere else online, your stub is capital C A P T Y D apostrophe U A E O. Okay, it's going to be a list of gibberish.
Okay, I see what you're doing.
And then
I have a
I'm not
feeling.
done yet. Let me finish. I'm not done yet.
Okay.
And then that's your stub that you're going to use for every password on all your sites. But your password for Facebook is going to be unique because the first two letters are going to be FB. So it's going to be FB, capital C, A P T Y D U A E O. And then I'm going to add an extra stub so that I can change it over time. I'm going to add pound 20 for 2020. I'm going to go pound 201. And if I'm really good, like for my financial accounts, I am going to change my password on my financial accounts every 90 days. And so it's going to be my B for bank, CAPTYDUAEO pound 202. And then another 90 days, I'll change that to B, capital C, blah, 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 pound 203. So you see, you're giving yourself a bunch of gibberish in the middle, some gibberish in the end, and some gibberish in the beginning. Altogether, making a password that looks like complete nonsense, but it has meaning to you so that you're able to remember it. And you're able to apply that password stub to your bank account, to your Facebook account, to your VA account, to your mail account. And each one of them is going to have a unique leader and a unique, well, they may have the same ending. They may all end in pound 201. Okay, so do you see, you're having a very secure password. You don't have a secure, you don't have a password that's based on any word. You don't have a password, you know, that's based on your dog's name or anything like that, or based on your birth date even. So you just want to be, sure that your password is gibberish.
Okay,
But easy to remember.
great. Thank you. Thank you for that. So maybe I'll somehow reactivate or get on with a new account, however they work it.
Okay, so we've got your password is private, and then turning on alerts lets you know if someone logs into your account from a place we don't recognize. We'll tell you which device was used and where it's located. Yeah, that's probably not something that I would, I don't want to send it to me by email.
Yeah.
Just send me an email about it. Okay. So now I'm going to know if somebody is able to log into my account. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so my password, okay, my login is set. Let's check another topic. How can people find me?
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
When you're on Facebook, do you sign off of that when you get done with it?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. You know, I suppose somebody could come in to my computer here and do something, but I'm not really worried about that. I mean, it's
No,
my home computer.
No, I was wondering about people not coming into your home, but from the outside being able to access it because your account is open. That's all.
I just don't hear of that happening. Like people, I haven't heard of that being an issue.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're looking at how people can find you and who can send you friend requests. So somebody wants to be your friend. I have it set to everyone. I have it set to everyone because this is my genealogy public thing. And I, want everybody to feel they can they can friend me. You may want to limit it to friends of friends.
Yeah.
And I am surprised that there isn't even, well, yeah, I can, okay. So limit it to friends of friends. Okay. Now, phone number and email. Again, because this is my genealogy, I'm going to change that actually. I will have my phone number only show up me, and my email, I'm going to let everyone find me by my email, again, because I want them to. So you want to set that. Now, that raises the question, Ian, what's your email address?
IAN626@bellsouth.net.
.net. Okay. So it is getting me all the Ians, but it's not getting me but the email address. I don't even know how people are using an email address to find somebody, because I don't see an IAN626 showing up except in my search bar and saying, so I don't know how people would find somebody using an email anyway. Because I just don't see. Now it's saying that there is, see these scratch lines over here suggest that my entries here are there, but no, I don't think that I've got access to him, even with his email.
Well, if he has it for only him.
Right. So I think he has it set for only his friends.
I would say so. Or
Okay.
something.
Right. Okay. So back to my settings and privacy. And okay. So we were looking at people finding me, sending me by, searching for me by email. Search engines can link your profile to help people find you more easily. Okay, let's try doing a search for Ian 626 at, what was that again? bellsouth.net.
bellsouth.net.
Okay, I'm going to put that in quotation marks, and I'm going to put Facebook. And looks like there aren't any great matches. So we're not finding him that way. If I just take the Facebook off, nope. So I can say here there's profiles. If it must include 626, it's not finding him at all. So that's looking good. All right.
How about Google?
Well, I was doing a Google search. So you must have you must have set search engines outside of Facebook are not linked to your profile.
Good.
Now, if you turn this off, people can still be found on Facebook if people search for your name.
But you can't find me on Facebook because I probably have restricted it.
Right. Can link.
Sounds like something I would do.
Right. You know, you get that at the CIA. The background they give you is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're not supposed to mention that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm all set. Okay. Data settings, apps and websites. This is a nightmare.
I'm not in that. I'm not.
Sorry to interrupt, Kate.
Yes.
Phil here. I have to sign off for now, but I'll see you all next week.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye, Bill.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
You need to be very careful about what app sites you use to log in to other companies. And I did not appreciate that in the beginning. And I cannot remove USA Today Network now, because if I do, it will create an endless hassle for my subscription to Pensacola News Journal, because Pensacola News Journal is not willing to give up my their hooks into my Facebook account. So if you are going to some company where you buy stuff a lot, and I buy stuff a lot at chewy.com, and they give you the option to sign out, they give you the option to create an account. And if they ever give you an option to just create an account with Facebook, don't do that. I'm glad to see that they're not making that front and center. So don't do that, because that will create problems for you up the road. Do not use Facebook to log in to other websites. That's giving them too much power over your life. So go in and check the apps and websites and remove them, being aware that you may have difficulties. I'm willing to leave this for my genealogy website, but I canceled it for my non-genealogy website, and I went through a lot of hoops to do that. But just be aware that is not something you want to, no matter how convenient it might be. You're going to want to go through and you're going to want to check who has access that you don't want to have access anymore. Okay, facial recognition, that's probably not a bad idea to say, you know, no, I don't want people to post a photograph and then for Facebook to run through photographs of me that I've posted and then attach my name to every photograph of me everywhere else. So let's say, no, I don't want Facebook to be able to recognize me in photos and videos. I'm all set. Okay. And add preferences. All right. About ads on Facebook. Okay. Relationship status. This is going to give them the ability to sell your profile to advertisers at a higher rate because it will be more focused. And so, you know, I'm fine with them posting ads, but I don't need them to do it based on anything about me. You know, I'm getting this for free, great. They have a right to make money off of it, but now, social interactions, likes, follows, shares, app usage, check-ins, recommendations, and events you joined on Facebook. You can decide whether your friends can see your social interactions alongside ads. So if I have liked something, do I want people to see, oh, Kay's liked that. I have no idea what Jasper's Market is.
I think it's just an average. It's just an example.
Oh, just an example. Okay.
Yeah,
So I
have
am
the same.
going to say who can see social interactions alongside. I don't want anybody to see the stuff that I buy or, you know, okay. And so I'm all set there. Now, that's taken me through a lot of stuff, but there's one other thing. How are we doing on time? Okay, there's one other thing that I want to talk about, and that is apps. Well, actually, no. We're gonna, you know, we've covered a lot. We've worn some people out, and we still have a lot to cover.
Yes, but what were you going to say before you go?
Well, I was going to go down and cover apps and websites, but there's really
Okay.
a bunch of these other things that I want to cover.
Okay.
Apps and websites.
No, we can live with that. We can live without that.
Yeah, we're gonna touch bases on that. But you know, basically what we've covered today gives you the privacy that you need to control who can see you and what they can do with that. So I really do think, I love Facebook. I think it's tremendous. I think it's, you know, it is something new and wonderful because it lets me connect with people who share my interests and live maybe thousands of miles away. And I think it's a wonderful thing that we have added to our culture. I do think that we have some serious problems with its power in the amount of information that it collects about us and what it does with that. And so I really do think that we need to be thinking about, you know, just the same way that I think that my DNA, I should have a copyright on my DNA. And if I pay a company to identify what my DNA is, I'm paying them for that. I want to pay them for that service, but I don't want them to then be able to take my DNA and sell it to health companies. I want to have a copyright on my DNA. I want to have control on what Facebook puts out and what it puts in front of me. I want some assurance that I am not being bamboozled. I want to have some assurance that I'm not at the mercy of scammers or of, robots that are posting malicious false information. So I do have a lot of concerns about Facebook, and there are some concerns that they've addressed with the privacy and my able to control what I post that other people see. But I still have some serious reservations about the information that they're putting onto my timeline and the people that, that I'm receiving information from that I'm not actually choosing to receive information from because they're advertisers. So
Yeah.
that's my soapbox.
Okay.
But I do, Miriam, I really do encourage it. I really think that it's a really valuable tool. And
It is, because there are a number of sites, besides, genealogy, then there's a quilting group, and then there's education, and even churches streaming on this Facebook stuff. So I'm missing out a lot.
right,
But then after the scam stuff happened to me 3 times,
right.
and
Well,
I'm going like, stop it.
a part of that is that, and that's what I talk about. I object to some things that Facebook presents to me. This thing of people wanting to notify everybody that it's their birthday by asking them to donate money. I mean, that seems like a cool idea the first time it comes around, but then after a while, it does seem to feel more like a scam. And when my birthday pops up and Facebook asks me, do you want to ask your friends to donate money to this? Maybe I'm an outgoing person and I want to, but I really wish my friends wouldn't take that opportunity.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's I mean, Facebook is free. I'm not paying a cent for it.